Welcome guys to Raiders of the Worst Game, the series where I hunt down and play the worst games. Hi guys, so for this week's Raiders of the Worst Game, we're actually going to look at a game called ECW Hardcore Revolution. That is a wrestling game for the Gameboy Colour, which came out in 2000. Now let's look, as we always do, at the critical reception the game received first. The game has a game rankings average of 38% at the moment, guys, which is quite low. And from that, we can get a few different scores. GameSpot gave it a 4.5 out of 10, called it a rehash and called it poor. Gameboy Station gave it a 4 out of 10. IGN gave it a 3 out of 10, quite a low score there, guys. And they said it had boring gameplay and was awful. Now, what might not be apparent to you guys straight away is that this is actually, as they said before in one of the reviews, a little bit of a reskin of the WWF Attitude game that came out for the Game Boy Color. And the same developer has basically gone and added some different graphics, some new wrestlers, and a few different match types, and then basically resold this game a year later as ECW Hardcore Revolution. So as I'll go through it just now, there's not a great amount of options there. You've got a training mode and versus mode of wrestler. You can play a career, which is basically just a series of matches against the other wrestlers there. There are only 10 wrestlers. There's the option to choose wrestlers randomly, and there's also a barbed wire match they throw in there. Because it's ECW, there's also weapons that can sometimes start in the ring or appear in the ring during the match, and you can pick these up and strike your opponents with them. Because it's a Game Boy game, some of the moves are quite limited, though I will go as far as to say that, you know, a lot can be done with only a few buttons. If you just look at Fire Pro Wrestling, a fantastic series has done a lot with only a few buttons. But this is not really the case here. So you've basically got a strike button and a grapple button. You grapple, then you kind of split 4 ways using the D-pad to get a few different moves out there. You can whip people off the ropes, and like I say, you can pick up weapons. In the barbed wire matches, obviously the ropes will do damage to your opponents. One thing that you might be able to see from the gameplay already is that the top rope moves, the ability to climb the ropes and attack your opponents from up there, is very, very overpowered. You can actually jump from any corner and cover up at least 70%, maybe 80% of the ring, and still strike your foe, no matter what kind of stance and no matter if they're moving or not. So that's quite powerful. Also, it is quite difficult to get back onto your feet at times, especially if you're taking some punishment. But the computer opponents don't seem to have the same issue, so you do kind of have to keep on top of your opponent when you are playing against the computer. If we look at some of the comments that were made by the developers and the reviewers, they pointed a lot of this stuff out, and as you can see from the gameplay here, it's easy to win a match in this game. As you can see, it's got an array of talent from the time. It's got all the bigger names from that time, you know, your Ravens, Just Incredibles, your Rob Van Dams, Tommy Dreamers. Most of the big names are there, but it's just not a very accurate representation of the show or the pay-per-views. So guys, one of the most disappointing things about this is it's just not very extreme. It doesn't really capture the show, the craziness of the matches. It was famous for its triple threat match. That's not here from what I can see. It was, you know, the crazy out-of-ring action. There doesn't seem to be a lot of use of weapons. The barbed wire match is disappointing. Really lacks any real impact. And all that kind of creativity that ECW was known for has been lost in translation with this game, guys. And the lack of modes, options, and controls don't really help it either. So guys, I actually think the 38% the games rankings gave this game is slightly generous, and I think all of the reviewers have been slightly generous. I think it's not a great game to go back to, and I'm probably going to give this game a 2.5 out of 10, guys. Alright guys, so if you like me bringing you these Raiders of the Worst Game and you want me to keep searching for the worst game, feel free to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next week with another game, guys. Cheers.